What is the new year for the trees in Judaism? My name is Netta, I'm a Jewish educator, and make sure to click that subscribe button down below to make sure you're getting all the Jewish content coming your way. In this video, we are discussing the holiday of Tu Bishvat, the new year for the trees. We'll be talking about the development that's happened over time, the fact that Tu Bishvat is one of 4 new years in Judaism, and what we actually practice and do today, and what is required by Jewish law. So what are the 4 new years in Judaism? In the Torah, we don't have any description of these different new years that I am about to discuss. This is all mentioned in our oral law in the Mishnah, which was codified around the year 200. In a particular Mishnah, it goes into detail about the different new years that we have in Judaism. The first one is the 1st of Tishrei, which is the new year of years. This is when we start counting years. In fact, the 1st of Tishrei is also the Jewish New Year, which is a holiday, Rosh Hashanah. And as I mentioned, this is when we start counting the years. So any year that we are counting ends and begins on the 1st of Tishrei. The next one we have is the 1st of Nisan, which is the new year for kings and holidays. What does that mean? That a year that a king is ruling will start on the 1st of Nisan, and the amount of months correspond to that date. In addition, the holidays are also start from the 1st of Nisan, and that means, for example, the holiday of Passover, which is in Nisan, is happening in the 1st month. And therefore, when you're talking about holidays, they correspond to the 1st of Nisan. Then we also have the 1st of Elul, which is the new year of animal tithing. This means that whatever flock you have, that is the cutoff point that you know that you have to donate 10% to the temple, to the priests, to the Kohanim, and to the Levites who work at the temple. And so that is the new year, that it is our cutoff point, and you know what 10% of your flock you are talking about. So that is the 1st of Elul. And finally, we have the 15th of Shvat, which is the new year for the trees. Similarly, the idea is that this is the cutoff point, that you know you have to donate accordingly to the temple the various crops or growths that you have in your fields to the temple. That is what the purpose of Tu Bishvat is. That was the point of saying it is a new year for the trees. It was a mark of when you donate your crops accordingly, and a cutoff point for donations to the temple. It is important to also add that in the Mishnah itself, we actually have a debate. If the new year for the trees is supposed to be on the 1st of Shvat, like all the other new years that happen on the 1st of the month, or the 15th. One sage, Shammai, basically said it should be on the 1st of Shvat because that is when most of the rain has fallen and it is seeped into the ground. So you have the potential of the growth already there and existing on the 1st of Shvat. The other sage, Hillel, basically said that only on the 15th of Shvat, yes, despite receiving all the potential rain in Israel that you are going to get, only on the 15th do the buds actually sprout. And that is when we actually see physically the buds and the growth that are going to be in the fields. And therefore, that is what was ruled. The 15th of Shvat, Tu Bishvat, is the day that we say it is the new year for the trees, and that is our cutoff point because that is when we see the buds actually blooming. So how is Tu Bishvat observed following the destruction of the temple? Given that the new year of the trees was a deadline that determined when you'd have to give the various fruits, crops, growths, as a donation to the temple, it became pretty irrelevant once the temple was destroyed. So how was it observed? Basically, around the year 70, the Jewish community that was in Israel was exiled abroad. And around the 3rd century, basically Tu Bishvat was used as an opportunity to connect the land of Israel, and more specifically to the 7 species that Israel is blessed with that are mentioned in the Torah. These are wheat, barley, figs, dates, grapes, olives, and pomegranates. Not only were these 7 species celebrated, but the idea was also to try to get fruit from Israel itself that were of these 7 species. At the time, though, obviously you couldn't get the actual fruits because they would become rotten by the time they would get to whatever community we're talking about. So the idea became that we actually used dried fruit. So all these various fruits were dried when possible and then shipped to the various communities. That way, not only were they celebrating the land of Israel and these growths and the 7 species, but they were also actually from Israel itself. So this started in the 3rd century in communities that were abroad. We have an additional development around the 16th century when the idea of spirituality and Jewish mysticism really grows within Israel. They added further meaning by creating a Seder, a ceremony surrounding these different fruits, and also adding grape juice or wine, which is also part of grapes, part of the growth that we have in Israel, that Israel is blessed with. And they created basically, along with verses and quotes from the Kabbalah, from the Zohar, from the original books of Jewish mysticism, they created a whole ceremony surrounding and celebrating these different fruits and growth that Israel is blessed with. There was even a custom of one of the known Kabbalists, the Ari HaKadosh, Arizal also known as, that he would actually have 15 new different kinds of fruit and celebrate that on Tu Bishvat. There are various customs about saying the blessing of Shechianu, of actually blessing upon a new fruit you haven't eaten during the year, and using Tu Bishvat, using the new year of the trees as an opportunity to do so. So really we see this change and development that happened in the 16th century of adding not only just eating the fruit themselves that are from Israel, but really adding an entire ceremony to the observance of Tu Bishvat. Various communities today have adapted and created their own ceremony based on this ceremony, this Seder that the Kabbalists did around the 16th century, and the various customs that have developed from the Jewish mysticism and spirituality. But you'd see different formats of ceremonies that are done today in various different communities. And that is basically the end of the religious observance and development that we have over time. We have another development that has been added upon in the 20th century. So what are the new aspects of Tu Bishvat that were basically added in the 20th century? Well, first of all, we have Zionism and the foundation of the State of Israel. In the 20th century, we have agriculture brought to the forefront with the foundation of various communities in the modern state of Israel. The idea of the new type of man who works the land and returns to that soil, which actually reminds us of agricultural Israel at the time of the temple, was really brought and celebrated in the 20th century. And so Tu Bishvat also became kind of a secular holiday too, that they celebrated the idea of planting, of growing the land, and celebrating the trees and the fruits of Israel, not only in a religious way, but in a secular way itself when it was tied to Zionism and the foundation and agricultural and growing the state of Israel. That is one aspect. The second thing is, following the foundation of Israel, the birthday of the Knesset, of the Israeli parliament, is actually Tu Bishvat. So every year, not only does the Knesset gather together and celebrate it, but there is a famous photo from 1949 when the Knesset was first established of David Ben-Gurion heading to the Knesset for the first inauguration officially, and on his way planting a tree. So there's a very strong significance and connection to this agricultural aspect of Zionism, of this ideal of the new man who's working the land and really truly connecting to it, and also this newfound democracy that the people of Israel were founding on this day specifically. So because of that, we have this celebration and connection between the New Year of the Trees and the foundation of our new democracy in Israel. And there's something very powerful about that regarding the connection that we mentioned beforehand to the temple, and that this was a new year for the trees and what that symbolized in Judaism. Finally, we have another aspect that was basically added in the 1970s, and more so in the 1980s. So 1970, Earth Day was established. And basically in the 1980s, we see a whole new aspect added that has become very common to talk about today. The idea of really protecting the planet, doing environmental projects, creating a space around us that we are cleaning and protecting and beautifying and taking care of. This is also added to the concept and idea of Tikkun Olam, repairing the world, a concept that is often spoken about by non-Orthodox movements, Reform and Conservative, but nonetheless also in Orthodoxy, we do mention the idea of repairing the world and also beautifying the place around us, and this idea of cleaning and ideal of our responsibility to the earth. Not only talking about the growth and the fruits that it gives to us, but also our responsibility in return. And that aspect is a later development that we only see basically becoming really common in the 1980s. So how are we actually celebrating Tu Bishvat today? So obviously we don't have the temple anymore, so that mark that we have about growth and buds and fruits and trees is not relevant. But we do use it as an opportunity to connect to the land of Israel, to be thankful to the land and what it gives us as growth, as fruit, as trees we plant. It is a very common thing to plant in the ground and contribute back to the earth and the gifts that it has given us. We also clean the area around us. We also eat various fruits, and especially the fruits of the 7 species. People do various ceremonies sometimes, but often it might just be, eating fruit in your home. And again, if you really don't do anything, it is totally fine. There is no obligation that is surrounded with this holiday. Nonetheless, it is a beautiful opportunity to connect further to Israel, to the species and fruits that Israel is blessed with, and also to the earth in general, and celebrating the beautiful gifts that it gives us. I wish you and your family a Tu Bishvat Sameach, and thank you so much for listening. And if you want to learn more about Judaism, make sure to click the subscribe button down below, and also check out all the links in the description so you can further your own Jewish journey.